Hello, my name is True and Truest Summer, and this is my YouTube channel. So I like talking to people about a wide variety of things. I like doing a wide variety of things, from skateboarding to gaming to actually it's not really a wide variety. It's just I'm in the cut. I like to do everyday things with everyday people: biking, skateboarding, rollerblading, jogging. I've done all of these well enough to teach them. I've always followed politics and games and people, and that's what I like. So that's what this channel is about. Uh, all in reference, and not really in reference, all sort of in an atmosphere of modern day nonsense, really. I normally don't get off my perch unless it's really worth getting off my perch for. I'm perched comfortably, and I say that meaning I don't hang out, don't go to clubs. I don't have a lot of friends who are just kind of perpetually on the run, doing some craziness. My friends now have all settled into this kind of staid, laid backish environment, and they're really great because then I get to talk to them, and their insight their insight is different from when we were in our 20s and 30s. So it's nice to see how somebody who grew up, like my buddy Ro, who I always reference, grew up very differently than I did, and we're tight. We've been tight for about, I want to say, 25 years now, maybe 20. Our politics are similar enough that we agree on a lot of stuff, but different enough that we can enlighten each other's position, because our position, a lot of the time, I find, come from what your parents told you and your formative years of running around whatever you ran with, right? He was a punk rock trying to be a hooligan where he grew up, and I was a hip hop trying to be a hooligan where I grew up. But neither one of our hearts were in hooliganism. We were just in boy stuff, and boy stuff can get a little rambunctious when you're at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. But if you don't have your 19-year-old under control by the time he's 19, I think you've got a 50-50 shot of him being a criminal, right? Versus taking that same energy, not blowing it out like a candle or anything, but sort of refocusing young men's wildfire energy that will burn down the town and the landscape and the hills around this small town, and put it in uh, a place to harness that energy for something good for the whole community. Here's the thing: the government does this all the time. The government knows the power of young men, so it's always trying to dilute it. So that's what jails are for, quite frankly. That's what the military is for, quite frankly. If you are a wild child, and I say wild because as an American kid, you should be wild. It kind of goes with the territory. But what's happening here is we're being made to be house cats, right? Because the people who control us are 80-year-old men who've got no power other than the stroke of a pen and having an armed guard disappear you in the night, just like, El Salvador and all those screwed up places from the 80s. Here we go. Let's start drinking. From the 80s. Yeah, it's not it's not ideal. Um, I'm in my head, so I should probably be talking while I'm in my head. Uh, I was talking to a friend of mine about this whole YouTube deal, and he was like, you know, you should give it a shot. And I was like, why should I give it a shot? And he was like, maybe somebody feels you, maybe somebody don't. Suss it out. So my YouTube channel is going to be about unity. Unity in the sense that I was raised in unity. And when I say that, I mean Dr. King, the Black Panthers, Flower Children, uh, the history of it, Medgar Evers, Marcus Garvey, all very black centric, but also very, all of us, also very, women have problems and they need addressed, which I agree with. But I also think that I was taught that when black people begin to get a foothold on their problems, women, usually white women, show up and steal the mic, right? And I give an example out of my own life about this. I was part of the Occupy Wall Street kind of thing when I lived in my own home state of New York City, Brooklyn, right? And I was like, yeah, we need criminal justice reform. We need somebody to look into some of the bad things so you can have a little more understanding and wipe out some of these institutionalized problems, right? All the ladies who joined, all these transplant white women from not New York, so they were like, yeah, we live here, we want the same thing you want, but first we need a farmer's market. And I was like, are you kidding me? And it went like this. So the first few weeks, there was 30 people. There was 20 blacks and 10 whites, right? 30 people, 20 blacks, 10 whites. But it was like 15 women, 15 men. The next week, it was 20 blacks, 20 whites, 15 men, 25 women. By the time this whole thing flushes out, it's more white women than anybody else, and they got their farmers market. I wipe my hand with liberalism and the whole bit of it, so the idea of vote for dreamers, I say no. The whole idea of, I just say no to all of it, because you know what, I did what I was supposed to do. I marched, I protested, I called Hillary Clinton, and yeah, so I feel like I did my due diligence as a good and solid citizen. Right? That's all you can really expect anyone to do. Say that you've got your eyes on the problem and you raise your hand if you want something done in the community. I raise my hand because I think we need criminal justice reform, because Tamir Rice, a 9-year-old boy, was shot in a playground playing with a toy gun. That's like the cops showing up to a wedding and shooting the bride because she's a white woman in a church with an undescribed, holding an undescribed implement. You know, and by the time you get it in the news, oh, well, the cops said they got a call of a woman dressed in white in an altar with an unknown object in her hand, and the cop just came in and shot it. It's perfectly reasonable and perfectly justifiable, which is bullshit. So yeah, if no one's gonna stand up while they kill your children, you had better fucking stand up. You know, and yeah, I know a lot of young, no, I can't say young anymore because I'm not young. I know a lot of people who I've known for quite a long time who think that they're liberal, but as soon as you challenge them, the first thing they want you to do is be dragged out of the environment. And that's what happened. I got dragged out of the environment. So all the liberal women I know aren't liberal. They're not feminists. You know, and I mean, for all the women I know, I think I know about 6 feminists who are absolutely feminists. You know, not just saying it, phoning it in, and you know, getting by like a lot of the ladies get by on, you know, the old dirty tricks of how women had to get by, right? And I acknowledge that you had to do it this way, because I mean that whole Hollywood Weinstein thing is vile. But let's be clear, you knew this was coming. You know, I had this conversation I am a pudgy bastard, aren't I? I had this conversation with a friend of mine about this whole thing, and her position was the idea of rape isn't every man. And I was like, you better listen to yourself. You sound ridiculous. You know, it's like saying the idea of women is greedy, manipulative lies. You would look at me like I was crazy if I uttered that in public. How come she can utter this sexist, ridiculous, man-hating nonsense, right? And then I'm supposed to side with her because I want good stuff for her. But I want good stuff for me too. But I want to be a knucklehead. I don't want to be. I don't want to. I don't want to be made to be something that is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Because I want a better day. I don't. I don't want a better day so bad that I will usher in bad leadership for a better day. So that's what my channel is about, right? I want you and I to fight it out together as American boys. I want you and I to stand to the doctrine of what the country is, right? And that isn't racism, that isn't sexism, that isn't, it also isn't cowboy ladies with me just perpetually in agreement like I'm some kid, you know. Uh, I've never met a lady who could rally a whole group of people to do a whole group of different types of people into a room to do something. And I don't know why that is. I think if you look through history, you had a lot of great women speakers and writers and thinkers, and you know, for the amount that started countries or started wars, you get a lot more starting wars, and not because they did anything, because some dude decided that they owned that woman, which is as well also just kind of a screwed up philosophy, right? So somewhere along the way, for people to get power, they've lied about the system, right? I mean, and you see that in America, the idea that black men are somehow perpetually evil and wrong, and this is the narrative they told you so they can look strong. Um, it's it's crazy. It's it's how you rule by division, right? And that's fine. That's politics. I've decided not to be crazy about politics on my site, and be more just about unity. I think we need more little leagues, more uh, school involvement. We need to seriously take seriously these dark, racist creatures who litter our great country. Because what'll happen is they will be activated by foreign agents, and they will be happy to do so. And then they'll find out that they were working for the Russians, and they'll want their American brothers and sisters, citizenry, to sort of feel them or understand them or give them a pass in some way. And I mean, is there any place more sinister than some of our allies? I mean, I know Russia is a whole and evil, but some of our allies are not, you know, they're not awesome. Uh, so the channel is about unity, and I was gonna say family, but not so much about family, just about the voices that don't get heard, right? I think all this girl talk, we women and go girl and sisters are doing it for themselves, is good for women. But at the same time, there seems to be an attack apparatus about the men and the boys. So some of these people can stand up, and I don't like it. I think they're moving you in a way that they know that it's easy to move you. They're really good at hitting these these pressure points that get racism, sexism, jingoism started. And I'm a fair jingoist, right? I'm big. I look at my shirt and my flag. I'm big into. I love the lore of my country, and I think one of the greatest things that will happen, and that person will be one of the greatest Americans who ever live, and America's going to be here for a while, will be the guy who puts an end to this nonsense, because it's going to be used by the enemies of America to do us in. All right. I'd like to thank you, and welcome to my channel. Going that way.